So, dear government agents, I'm sure you've got plenty of other things to do, so why don't you clock out and go home now?
At that moment, it seemed Agent Bronze's patience snapped.
I'm just saying, it's unclear whether these fall under the jurisdiction of the Disaster Management Bureau. And if you keep pushing, hey, let's ask our own staff. Hey, Assistant Manager Jin!
Beside him, we heard Kwak Jaikang shaking awake Jin Nasul, and then came her flat, annoyed voice.
You feel unfairly treated every single day, sir.
But Jin Nasul, seeming to grasp the situation, gave a cold and strategic response.
They're mer children.
Kwak Jaikang's footsteps grew animated.
Mer children, what a fascinating discovery. So in truth, they're not innocent citizens at all. They're something like traitors from the darkness.
Agent Choi's voice turned sharp.
That is a matter for the Bureau to decide. A private company has no authority to make that call independently. Especially.
Even though I couldn't see it, I could feel it.
Haha, looks like we have a difference of opinion.
Kwak Jaikang started to applaud, then took a step back.
You're right. Maybe I acted a bit rashly. So then, why don't we all take a little break and talk again after we've cooled down?
The two agents seemed to be calculating their next moves. This was a precarious moment. This can't escalate further. Getting out of here as smoothly as possible without any conflict was the best outcome. If hostility boiled over here, especially with everyone already drained from escaping a ghost story, no one could predict what might happen.
Oh, we're always open to conversation.
We'll just rest here with the children. Come back when you've organized your thoughts.
The agents sat right where they were, making it clear they would not take their eyes off the children. And perhaps realizing he had no leverage at the moment, Kwak Jaikang finally stepped away. There's no way that's the end of it. I opened my eyes naturally. At some point, agents had moved closer and now sat beside me as if we'd relocated together by chance. They were talking clearly for me to hear.
How long will it take?
Dunno. Maybe half a day at most.
Not the first time we've seen a guy like that. Let's just wait here a bit until backup arrives.
It seemed like we'd successfully created a window to contact the Disaster Management Bureau and get there.
Excuse us for a moment, we've got some procedures to handle.
That the research team would try every trick in the book until then. I cracked one eye slightly open and watched someone approach the group. A sleep-deprived researcher with deep eye bags and glasses was tending to the field exploration team staff, getting them treated and guiding them toward the interview room. Assistant Manager, Research Team 1. The name tag matched a researcher I remembered reading about in the Dark Exploration records, which meant one thing. She's notable enough to have her own wiki entry. And her notable trait was, she was one of the rare few in Daydream Inc. who actually cared about research ethics. The kind of researcher whose attitude made that clear. If this had been under different circumstances, I might even felt glad to see her. But not now. Not when she'd almost certainly been sent by Kwak Jaikang on purpose to lower the agent's guard.
I think both the kids and the agents should really receive some basic first aid, especially the children. They're suffering from severe blood loss and a few seem to be in shock.
It wouldn't be easy to refuse, right? After the Bureau agents confirmed that the researcher meant no harm, they scanned the recovery potions she offered with their equipment and gave a reluctant green light. Of course, they didn't drink it themselves. But since the kids had just gone through things like ripping off their own tails, the urgency of the situation forced them to allow it. Naturally, a potion made its way to me as well. One of the standard-issue red recovery potions stocked in their infirmary. I reached out with both hands, only to remember one of them was missing, so I just accepted it with my left hand. Instead of drinking the potion, though, I just pretended to, while secretly funneling the liquid into the tattoo on my wrist. That guy might recognized me, and spiked it with something strange. Even if that wasn't the case, the researchers could have tampered with it for research purposes. I definitely saw it. While handing out potions, some of them had exchanged signals and deliberately chosen different bottles for certain children who seemed unusual. It's a real healing potion, but something's probably mixed into it. Call it paranoia, but it never hurts to be cautious. That's when I noticed something else. As I moved, I suddenly felt the presence of an unfamiliar object tucked into my clothes. The glass lantern. The Dokebi flame, now transformed into a glass lantern, was stowed away beneath my coat. If someone caught me with this, it'd be obvious I was an agent. In other words, it would be the perfect excuse for Kwak Jai-kang to lock onto me. Pretending to be a scared little civilian kid, I nestled deeper among the children and tried to subtly stow the lantern into the tattoo. But the Dokebi fire inside rejected it violently. It didn't want to go into the tattoo? Left with no choice. I used my oversized jacket to cover it up as much as I could. Then, keeping calm, I sat back down and handed the now empty-looking potion bottle to the researcher with a scared look on my face. That's when I locked eyes with Baek Deok-soo, who had just woken up. Acknowledge me and you're dead. That was the gist of the unspoken exchange. Baek Deok-soo turned away quickly, one eyelid twitching. Honestly, he'd probably imagined ratting me out and getting a promotion, but he won't move recklessly. He still wants the item he was promised. He's the type to calculate every gain and loss. I remembered the conversation we'd had right before the escape, when I used Baek Deok-soo as a ride to read the Necronomicon. If you do it right, it's yours. And how his heartbeat had quickened with greed. I sat still, quietly observing the dazed and traumatized children around me, letting time pass uneventfully.
The D Squad has returned.
A new voice rang out as someone entered the lab. I instinctively looked up, an emotionless voice, and a white lizard mask. It was Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun.
The D Squad has returned.
It's actually him, squad leader!
Since when did that white reptilian head and those vertical pupils start making me feel so relieved I could cry? I almost jumped to my feet when I saw the lizard wearing the lizard mask. Of course, it's not exactly the right situation to be feeling that happy right now. Still, the memories of being super saved by the physically strongest in those insane ghost stories were just too vivid. Anyway, Chief Lizard, who seemed to have just returned from the darkness, was now starting his report to the research team.
It took 3 hours and 24 minutes to clear.
Section Chief, now might not be the best time for details.
The research team gestured towards the office, now thrown into chaos. Nearly 30 injured children, a handful of government agents, and even the groaning Daydream Inc. staff lay scattered around the space. Even though Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun would have just seen as usual, a room full of civilians instead of employees after clearing the darkness, there wasn't a trace of disturbance on his face. Typical of the lizard that was him, really. What bothered me, though, was that no one else had followed in after him. The researcher definitely said the D-Squad had returned. But Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun was alone. Don't tell me the new hires all died in an instant. Whatever my doubts, the interactions among Daydream Inc. employees continued.
Section Chief. The Dream Essence Collector, if you could bring it over this way.
Thank you. If you could just wait for a moment.
With the mermaid grave cleared, it was the first thing that needed to be handled. After handing back the Dream Essence solution to the researcher, Chief Lizard looked around the unusually crowded research team area. As his gaze swept the room, those blood-red eyes locked onto me. Did he recognize me? But soon the gaze moved on, and Chief Lizard silently walked into the center of the office and sat down on a meeting sofa. That meant he'd just walked in and sat right among the blood-soaked, contaminated children without batting an eye. Even the research team was stammering.
Agent, do you know him by any chance?
The lizard mask? No. But if I'd seen him even once before, I'd never forget him.
Agent Choi also seemed to be seeing him for the first time. Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun, or rather Employee D, was a character who would first appear when the dark exploration records got bigger, and anomalous gag clears became acceptable amongst the community. You could say his exploration records don't really overlap with Agent Choi's, who was active mostly in the early days. Even the kids who'd just received first aid and regained their energy were sneaking glances at the man in the lizard mask. It would have been nice if things had just ended there. But as time passed, the number of kids who'd regained their energy kept increasing, so...
Excuse me, are we going to see my mom now?
I want to go to the bathroom.
The relatively uninjured kids started looking around, and then began raising their hands to speak, even though they'd had horrific experiences in the Twinkle Twinkle Ocean Palace. Because it was all inside that fairy tale-like hallucination, they hadn't lost their innocence. On top of that, Being left injured on the uncomfortable office floor, it was impressive the kids had held out this long without a word. But with this, the researchers now had the perfect excuse to lure kids away one by one. Damn it. Any minute now, the researchers would probably start saying things like, "Let's take you to the bathroom, let's take you to the cafeteria," and try to separate the kids into groups. The agents would certainly stick with them like glue, but the problem was there would always be some kids left behind, which meant they'd get split up. If the agents are separated one by one, it'll only get harder to deal with the Daydream Inc. employees. As it was, the agents were already at their physical limits, covered in bruises from head to toe. This obvious setup wasn't lost on the agents either. Their expressions had grown subtly colder. If that's the case, there's no other way. We'll have to make the first move. And the safest employee here is... Holding back a sigh, I whispered to one of the kids who said they wanted to go to the bathroom.
Really? Do you know where it is?
Excuse me, Juicy. Where's the bathroom?
The kid shot up and shyly grabbed the pants leg of someone nearby and asked,
"Kids, just a moment."
The lizard-faced man sitting on the sofa blinked and looked back at the child. Before Agent Choi could say anything, I egged the other kids on.
Do you want to go too?
Kwak Jaikang was gone, and all the familiar employees had disappeared for treatment and interviews. On top of that, half my face was still covered in ulcer scars and necrosis, so the odds of anyone recognizing me were extremely low. As long as I act properly, it'll be fine. Blending in among the kids, I went up to Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun and asked as much like the other kids as I could.
Juicy, can you take us to the bathroom?
Are you going to show us the way?
The kids who had gathered around me looked up at him with shining eyes. As soon as Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun stood up, the children finally burst into giggles and clung to his thighs and back. Only then did I give the two agents a small nod. It was a signal that if anything went wrong along the way, I'd shout and alert them to danger. Agent Bronze seemed to realize that I'd picked the safest employee, and though his expression was complicated, he stayed silent and did not intervene. In any case, thanks to this, Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun started walking down the hallway with about 6 or 7 children in tow, just like a Pied Piper lizard. And fortunately, there were no other incidents until we safely finished using the nearby restroom. After helping the children who were too young to use the bathroom alone, I washed my hand with cold water at the sink to try to collect myself. It really is inconvenient having only one hand. And now that I was using this familiar company restroom again, it felt like my mind might float away. I just want to collapse into a bed. Suppressing my fatigue, I finished washing my hand. Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun quietly came up next to me. No way was he going to look after me just because I was a child. I almost struck the lizard head with my remaining hand.
Anti-eavesdropping equipment is currently active. This conversation will not leak outside.
With a trembling hand, I turned off the faucet and lowered my voice.
How did you recognize me? I mean, I don't even have an arm anymore, and my age has changed.
Yes. You have been determined as the same person through the change in age and loss of limb.
He's a reptilian alien who fires holy bomb barrages, so maybe he has other methods of analysis.
Anyway, thank you for your help. I nearly had my identity exposed to the research team.
When we return to the room, please also make sure the children don't get led away by researchers along the way.
The lizard's lidless eyes stared into space for a moment, then returned to me. The children hadn't come out of the bathroom yet, so we still had time for a short conversation. I hesitated for a moment, then asked,
Have you been doing well, squad leader? I wanted to ask if the new staff in the D squad are doing all right, and if your explorations into the darkness have gone well.
There are no new staff. Currently, the D squad is assigned to single-person entries into darknesses, and there are no unusual incidents.
So Lee Jae-hyun was working alone. He's been left in the lurch. Just when the squad had been promoted to an elite squad and was about to start trial operations, I, the person who'd been promoted and transferred, went missing and was declared dead. In the end, the D squad was left dangling like a kite with its string cut. So even if the company had been dragging its feet for months, not knowing what to do with the squad, it wouldn't be strange at all. But because it was so realistic, my mouth felt even more bitter. There must have been a lot of rumors. even if Chief Lizard was the type who didn't care about things like that at all. I opened my mouth before I knew it.
If I make a purchase at the Space Mall, does that help you, Section Chief?
Purchases at the Space Mall are not directly related to Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun's livelihood.
The corner of his mouth drew a slightly friendly curve.
But it is helpful to us.
It was an odd way of putting it. That reminds me if we can help, somehow. At any rate, I understood that it provided indirect help.
Do I have to use cash to shop there?
Oh, then is it possible to barter items?
Then how do I use other payment methods?
Use the VIP card. The conversation will end here. Someone is approaching.
I processed his sentences one by one. The restroom's frosted glass door slid open and someone entered with brisk steps, coming all the way to the sink.
Oh, what fun conversation are you having with the children?
I showed them to the restroom.
Bodily functions, very important, especially for children.
Kwak Jae-kong, in a white lab coat, bent down to meet my eyes. Feigning fear, I quickly lowered my head and stepped back. Kwak Jae-kong's voice dropped to a whisper, as if offering a secret favor.
Want to come with me? We'll have delicious snacks, play on the playground with your friends, and get a good rest.
Let's just go with the friends who are here now. Not the others, just you, specially.
I want to see my mommy and daddy.
Of course, you'll get to see them too.
This bastard, seriously.
Done, Wanna. Ajusi's scary and ugly.
Hearing the children coming out, I hid behind Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun.
I guess that Ajusi's scary.
Children are quick and easy to influence. The mood shifted in an instant, and all of them hesitated, then rushed behind the kind Ajusi to get away from the scary Ajusi in the white coat.
No, I might not look as good as Section Chief Lee, but still, I have my own. This is embarrassing.
Seeing the lizard with all the children clinging to him, Kwak Jae-kong scratched the back of his head. There was a flash of regret and obsession in his eyes.
Section Chief Lee, if you're thinking of trying to lure the kids...
You should know your place. Ha.
Clicking his tongue, Kwak Jae-kang eventually turned around and left the restroom. The moment the bathroom door closed, a few of the children let out involuntary sighs of relief. Maybe the children weren't just reacting to the mood, but instinctively sensing someone harmful. Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun once again became the pied lizard and led the children back to the lab. The agents, who had been nervously watching the door, finally let out short sighs of relief, and the suffocating tension eased just a little. I gave Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun a small, inconspicuous bow of gratitude, and he, still wearing that expressionless reptilian face, sat on the sofa and continued to stand guard. And about an hour or two later,
Staff of the Disaster Management Bureau have arrived.
the backup we'd been waiting for had come. What happened afterward went more smoothly than expected. As soon as Agent Choi's urgent message was received, the Disaster Management Bureau dispatched rescue vehicles and came to Daydream Inc. And with everything ready to escalate, even the research team had no choice but to step back.
We'll just take a simple sample. That's nothing harmful to anyone, so it should be fine, right?
Agent Bronze was about to explode, but in the end, tissue samples from the mer children were indeed collected. They're just scraping some from the cut tail stumps. That much wouldn't harm the children. What concerned me a bit was that they also took some of my own flesh. I'll have to contact Director Ho quickly to make sure it gets handled. The important thing is, we were finally free from the ghost story.
Egu, the kids are all asleep.
The children had all fallen asleep. Loaded into the ambulances sent by the Disaster Management Bureau, the kids were quickly transported to headquarters. There, they were cleaned up, treated by medical specialists, changed into clean clothes, and given a meal. Only after that, maybe due to all the accumulated fatigue from their spectacular ordeal, did they finally fall sound asleep. Of course, the agents were finally able to take a hot shower and get a meal, too.
Grapes finally turned back into an adult, too.
The same went for me. Thanks to a quick recharge from the Dokebi flame, my right arm was restored, and my whole body returned to its original adult male form. I sank into the sofa, feeling a rare sense of stability. For some reason, the lounge of Black Tortoise Team 1 felt more comfortable than ever. Then again, it always did feel like a cozy school club room, so maybe it was only natural.
You never know what that company might try next.
In my drowsy state, I caught bits of the agent's conversation beside me. Agent Bronze seemed suspicious that Daydream Inc. might try something else.
We got a call from the analysis team, by the way, about the drugs the kids were given. Apparently, some bottles had a daydream potion mixed in, the kind that makes you fall asleep and get transported somewhere else.
My mind snapped awake.
I did notice they were selecting certain bottles for the more heavily mutated kids, so I was keeping an eye on it.
Have those all been removed now? Grapes, you really did well earlier. You even managed to make that not yet in on the conspiracy staff member take you to the restroom for real.
At that, Agent Bronze was trying desperately not to meet my or Agent Choi's eyes, even by accident.
So now, we should go get that fixed, right?
Let's go meet the elder.
Agent Choi suddenly pointed at me. Or, more precisely, at the half of my face still bearing the traces of ulcers. Right, even after returning to my original appearance, the signs of infection hadn't disappeared. It seemed that the mental contamination from being merged with the ghost story had been cured by the conch shell, which was why I hadn't been as conscious of it until now. So if we go to the infirmary...
No, there's a faster way than that.
Agent Choi stood up. Agent Bronze followed suit from the sofa without a word, and both turned to me with a smile. The person known as Team Leader of Black Tortoise Team 1. It was also this elder who, through the window of this clubroom-like waiting area, had played a dokebi trick for the agents and sent us into the Twinkle Twinkle Ocean Palace in the forms of children. They can't possibly be human. So I expected that we would probably visit the elder by performing some magical ritual through the window in the waiting room. But things didn't go that way.
All right, let's go carefully.
It's not that far, maybe about 40 minutes.
Maybe I should just be grateful it wasn't by bicycle. The three agents used, of all things, an ordinary means of transportation and crossed the city of Seoul toward our destination. A white building in a quiet area, a convalescent hospital. From the way the staff were all kind and there seemed to be many visitors, it looked like a very well-managed place. The agents, as if familiar, entered the main entrance without hesitation.
We're here to visit Park Hongrim.
Ah, right this way.
Going up to the 5th floor, there was a sunlit single room. There, lying on a bed bathed in the warm glow of sunset from the window, was an elderly person with a peaceful face. If she had her eyes open, I would have thought of her to be an intelligent and kind person.
Grapsy, let's say hello.
On the table there was a picture frame filled with messages written on rolling paper. Just like in Black Tortoise Team 1's waiting room.
Hongrim Unni, love you so much. Leaving a message as your beloved disciple who tracked down and rescued the master of Andong Soju for the sake of solidarity with our Soju-loving team leader. Our great leader, our team leader.
Just then, a student entered the room in a hurry and was startled to see us.
Hey, Yejia. Good to see you. Have you been well?
Oh, you know, about the same as always. Now, let's see how our madam is doing.
The high school student, who seemed to be her granddaughter, checked her grandmother's temperature by touching her forehead, and then looked up with a smile.
She must be in a good mood.
She does look well.
Oh, Uncle Jaquan, have you been well?
The granddaughter and the two agents seemed to know each other, exchanging words naturally, then introduced me.
This is our new recruit.
Nice to meet you.
This was no time to be flustered. I hurriedly bowed my head in greeting, and the student also bowed deeply in return.
Please take good care of my grandmother.
For some reason, my chest felt tight.
I should be the one saying that. I've received so much help from the team leader.
The granddaughter took a deep breath, as if holding back tears, and then smiled brightly.
Then, I'll step out so you can greet her.
All right. Thank you.
The hospital room door closed, and silence settled in. Agent Choi looked at her unconscious team leader and gently reached out to straighten her hair. Still, the elder did not move.
There was an accident. As you know, Grapes, with supernatural disasters, even the slightest mistake can lead to someone dying in the most absurd way, right?
Agent Choi's voice grew a bit softer.
They say the last supernatural disaster our team leader entered was a real labyrinth, mysterious and bizarre. Just all sorts of strange things happened.
He took a deep breath.
Her upper body was almost blown away, especially her head. I heard nearly half of it was gone.
I instinctively checked the elder lying on the bed. She looked perfectly intact.
Yeah, but she looks fine now, doesn't she?
Agent Choi couldn't continue, and like me, just quietly looked at the bed. Agent Bronze slowly opened his mouth.
Team leader passed the Dokebi trial and received her own personalized Dokebi flame lantern.
I instinctively looked down at my right arm, more precisely at the Dokebi flame that had replaced it. You'd have to pass a Dokebi's trials, too. Goodness, it's powerful but no easy task.
So, right now, from the team leader's head down to her upper body, more than half has been replaced by a Dokebi flame. They say the reason she can't wake up is that the Dokebi flame is already using too much mystical power, so it can't withstand the causal interference of directly manifesting in reality.
I looked at the elderly woman peacefully sleeping on the bed, most likely forever asleep.
That's how our team leader became the Elder. No longer just a human, but a supernatural being, a Dokebi Elder.
Agent Choi, who'd been staring at the bed alongside me, finally managed to lift his head. He wore a gentle smile.
But we know she's always watching over us, in dreams and fantasies. Let's greet her then. Elder, we came to offer our thanks and to introduce our new recruit as well.
Agent Choi patted me on the shoulder.
See, I told you this one would do well. He really did a great job. I'm sure you've already seen it yourself.
At this point, I couldn't say I had no intention of joining this team. I wondered for a second if Agent Choi had planned even this, but looking at his soft smile, that didn't seem to be the case. With Agent Bronze's guidance, I stepped up right to the bedside, and I bowed deeply and respectfully.
I'm the new recruit who just joined.
Everyone else in the hospital room had vanished without me noticing, and instead of sunset, a brilliant full moon shone into the room from the window. A gentle, softly glowing flame was stroking my hair. No, something with a warmth like flame, but also with a sense of body heat. A fragment of the Elder.
Yes, your weary journey has made you doze off for a bit. Come, sit here for a while.
A familiar hand took hold of mine. My eyes drifted closed. Before I knew it, I was leaning against the bed, receiving the Elder's comforting pat on my back. The words came out suddenly.
Do you really think I did well?
You did your very best, and thanks to you, the children came back alive and smiling. That's all because of your efforts and your good fortune. Don't be so hard on yourself. No one else could have done better than you. Even if you went back, you couldn't have done it better than you did.
For some reason, I felt choked up. To be emotionally, a suspicion came over me. It feels like she knows my real identity. I'd felt it in the previous conversation with the Elder, too. She seemed to know all about the items I had. Maybe it's because this is a dream. She must already know about me. Then maybe, is this also a ploy to make a spy let down their guard? Rather than suspicion, it was a strange feeling, closer to disappointment. Like realizing your grandmother had some hidden motive for being so kind to you.
And really, who in this world has no secrets? Who is without fault?
Once again, the hand patted my back.
The important thing is to always keep a little light burning in your heart. If you ever realize, I've lost my way, then sometimes you need to check your footing so you can turn back.
I steadied my breath.
Yes, I've become an old woman for whom it's hard enough to know even those in my own care. Life is so complicated. With all its quarrels and troubles, I don't really understand much of it.
It was a gentle way of saying she wouldn't reveal my true affiliation to the Disaster Management Bureau. Or about my suspiciousness. The hand patting my back lifted away. There was a hint of excitement in the gesture.
But the elderly have their own kind of wisdom, you know, and they have gifts to give, too.
Before I knew it, I'd sat up and was perched on the edge of the bed. As always in dreams, the context had shifted, but it didn't feel strange, because this was a dream. And this gentle request as well.
Take your trinket out of your pocket, would you?
Before I knew it, I'd taken the item out of my pants pocket, a round accessory marked with an X. The item that let me read the displaying past memories concisely as text. But it had cracked, so I hadn't been able to use it anymore.
I remember this. All the kids put these on everything these days. The administrators must be so upset. The Dokebis didn't even throw a party for 8 days just to make one of those.
A hearty and kindly laugh.
But this one is a little different, I think. Let's see.
The Elder put on her reading glasses and peered at my pop sock. In the crack of the pop sock, the adhesive left by the government agent pretending to be a dokebi in the dokebi workshop was still there.
He said that adhesive would set within a month. But even though a lot of time has passed, it hasn't changed at all.
Ah, I see. Since that fellow wasn't a real dokebi, just a human in disguise, it's no wonder he didn't know. That person is more of a strange creature. But it looks like they were imitating something from our workshop. But if you treat something made by street riffraff like a knockoff, things just won't work out.
The elder infused the pop sock with fire. The pop sock, which had been burning brightly, suddenly sparkled as if all the old grime was scrubbed away, and the crack disappeared.
There you go. It's now properly bonded. But the important step isn't finished yet. You have to make a wish for what you want it to become.
Come to think of it, I'd heard that at the dokebi workshop too.
Wish for what form you'd like it to take. Then it'll transform into a splendid trinket.
But things had been moving so frantically that I'd barely paid attention to that part. This time I'll try to be conscious of it. I politely put the pop sock back into my pocket.
Grapes, you really are so polite.
I could feel a look of fond satisfaction. She patted my head again. It felt as if the warm fire seeped into my entire body, burning away all pain and contamination.
This old woman would love to give you a dried persimmon, but it seems our time is up. Your drowsiness is wearing off.
Before I knew it, my head was nearly bumping into the bed in the hospital room, and I reflexively straightened up. A person startled awake from a nap. I quickly raised my head. I saw the two agents looking back at me, smiling, and the elder still lying asleep in bed.
Did you greet her properly?
The clock in the hospital room showed the same time as when I'd entered. I had literally just nodded off for a moment. And even in such a brief nap, a dream had visited. I looked down at myself. The tumors and ulcers that had sprung up across my body were all gone. I bowed deeply toward the sleeping elder. The agent smiled and patted my back.
Then we'll come again next time, Elder.
I followed the two agents out of the hospital room. The elder, still peacefully sleeping with her eyes closed, seemed to be seeing us off.